What's going on, you guys? Frost here, and I'm back with another guide. This time, we'll be talking about Hecarim Jungle. The following subjects will be mentioned in this guide: champion description, abilities, leveling order, runes, masteries, the item build, and ending off with the jungle routes. If you want to go to a specific subject, you can click on it right now. Champion description. Hecarim is a fighter/tank with very good damage. He's also a great farmer with a really good clear speed in the jungle. And his ganks early are very strong if you combine your E with Ghost. Doing this allows you to gain a lot of AD because of your passive. This is gonna chunk a large amount of the laner's health, generally resulting in a free kill. If you get kills with Hecarim early, it's very easy to snowball, because in my opinion, Hecarim is a hyper carry. Since the faster he gets his damage, the faster he can become the unkillable god. If you like to play a tanky champion who deals a lot of damage and skills very well throughout the game, Hecarim is definitely a champion for you. Hecarim's abilities. His passive, Warpath. This is a self buff which makes Hecarim ignore unit collision and gain bonus attack damage equal to a percentage of his bonus movement speed. This ability makes fast boots and movement speed coins very worth it on Hecarim, since you gain a lot of speed as well as damage. Also, Ghost is great because of this, since you can gain a large amount of damage over the period that you are ghosting. His first ability, Rampage. This is a point blank area of effect ability, which doesn't interrupt Hecarim's previous orders because it has no cast time. If Hecarim damages at least one enemy unit with his attack, he gains a stack of Rampage for 8 seconds, reducing the base cooldown of this ability by 1 second. This effect can be stacked up 2 times. This skill is pretty much your bread and butter. It gives you a good amount of consistent damage on a very low cooldown, and you can just spam this while moving or auto-attacking without it cancelling anything. His second ability, Spirit of Dread. Hecarim surrounds himself with Spirit of Dread for 4 seconds, dealing magic damage per second to all enemies within its reach. Hecarim is healed for 20% of the damage dealt by any source to enemies within the area. This is capped against minions or monsters. Always try to save this until in the jungle you're about to do damage with your Q on 2 stacks so you can get 2 heals from your Q. Or in teamfights when you're getting low and you need to get some health back. When you're ganking, however, you can just use it right away when you're about to hit the enemy for extra damage. His third ability, Devastating Charge. Hecarim gains 75% movement speed over the course of 3 seconds, starting with an initial 25% upon cast, and ending 1 second afterwards. Whilst Hecarim is charging, he gains 150 extra attack range. His next attack knocks back the target, dealing physical damage based on how far Hecarim has traveled during the Devastating Charge's duration. You can use the skill to hop over narrow terrain to hit your target. This skill is also an auto attack reset, but don't use it as one, since it goes on a long cooldown and it doesn't do much. Use the skill right before you're going to walk into a lane when ganking, so you give it time to charge up. If you combine this with Ghost, the initial attack will give insane burst damage, pretty much resulting in free kills. His fourth ability, Onslaught of Shadows. Hecarim summons spectral riders and charges forward with them in a line, dealing magic damage to enemies in their path. Enemies within the range of where Hecarim stops will flee in terror for 1 second. The wave of spectral riders will travel the maximum distance possible in the direction of cast, regardless of where Hecarim himself stops. This skill is generally used for either engaging teamfights in mid to late game, or to get a solid gank off over walls so you can hit people from unexpected angles. You can charge up your third ability and then use this behind the enemy to knock them back into your team. Leveling these abilities. On screen right now you can see my leveling order for Hecarim Jungle. I take Q on level 1 and max this first, since this is your main source of damage. On level 2 I take W, and on level 3 I take either a second point into my Q or a point into my E, depending on if you want to gank more or keep farming. Take Q if you want to keep farming and E if you're gonna gank. After maxing my Q, I start maxing my E for a lower cooldown on your speed up / damage increase. And I max my W last because the duration and spell vamp don't increase if you take more points into it. And of course you take your R whenever possible. The runes. For Hecarim I go 9 armor pen marks, 9 flat armor seals, 9 scaling magic resist glyphs and 3 movement speed quints. I take armor pen marks because this allows you to deal a lot more damage with your Q early and mid game. I take flat armor to help Hecarim in his weakest stage in the game, the first clear / the early few levels. I take scaling magic resist glyphs because this allows you to get tankier the further the game goes on. You don't really need early MR on Hecarim, since early AP damage isn't really gonna do much to you anyway. And I take movement speed quints because this will increase your movement speed, meaning it will increase your damage because of your passive. So it's basically a 2 for the price of 1 effect. Very worth it. The masteries. I have 2 mastery pages for Hecarim. One for farming oriented gameplay and one for more ganking oriented gameplay. The one you can see right now is for the farming style. It gives you increased buff duration, more spell vamp and lifesteal, and a lower cooldown on your summoner spells. A lower cooldown on your Ghost and Smite means faster clear times and more guaranteed ganks, because with Ghost you do a lot more damage. Meaning that you can gank more efficiently and keep farming more. The second page is more for ganking. This page will make you tankier early game and also give you more damage, but it gives you less sustain in your jungle. The item build. Starting off, I buy a machete with 2 health potions and a warding trinket. After my initial clear, I back and buy my trailblazers, along with some boots and maybe a health potion. Now you're building into your jungle item. If you went for the heavy ganking Hecarim, I recommend going Stalker's Blade. If you went for more farming, then just upgrade your trailblazer that you already bought. Also, don't forget to swap your trinket for a sweeping lance right now. After your jungle item, you want to build into your main damage item, Trinity Force. Get your Sheen first for more burst damage when ganking a lane. This will make for easier kills and will help you snowball better. Now, at this point, if you focus more on farming, just go for finishing the rest of your Triforce. If you want to gank more, then you get your Mobos right after your Sheen, so you can get more burst damage and more roaming potential when walking into lane for a gank. And on top of this, you can counter gank better, due to the increased roaming speed. After Mobos, in this case, just finish your Triforce and then continue with your regular build. If you're playing more to farm, then it's better to go Ninja Tabbies right after your Triforce, since this reduces damage taken from monsters, minions and turrets. Only get mercs against heavy CC like Fiddlesticks. Generally, at this point, you will go and build your Randuins, and then into a Spirit Visage for tank items. But this can of course vary every game, depending on if you're against a lot of AP or full AD, and of course who's fed on the enemy team. What I do against full AD and full AP is shown on the screen right now. Just make sure that you get Ninja Tabbies against full AP, so you can block a lot of the AD carries damage as well. For the 6th item there are generally only 4 options, and sometimes 5, if you need to get extra health from Warmogs to make your armor and magic resist values even better. I get a Frozen Heart if the enemy AD carry is getting more fed towards the late game, and I need to be able to tank his damage better. I'll get Zephyrs if I need the tenacity and I don't need to be extra tanky. I'll get a Black Cleaver if my team is lacking damage in the late game, or if I'm extremely fed mid game. This item can also be replaced by a Ghost Blade. I just prefer the Black Cleaver over it because it also helps your team with doing extra damage. As a 6th item, a Hextech Gunblade is viable, but it's better as more of a 7th item to replace your jungle item, since it offers better attacking stats than your jungle item, as well as giving you 20% extra spell vamp on top of your 20% from W and increased healing from Spirit Visage. This item will basically allow you to spell vamp and lifesteal all the damage you take back very fast. The jungle routes. Starting off on the blue side of the map here. This is with my ganking masteries, I did this. So, you basically take more damage than you would take with your sustain masteries. Anyway, I'm starting on double golems, of course smiting them to get the stun buff from it. So, the rest of the jungle you take less damage in the rest of your jungle, basically. After that, I'm going to red buff, just gonna I'm trying to keep my 2 stacks on Q up as much as I possibly can, so always try to run away from your camp before you finish it. I made that mistake here, I didn't do it, so I'm probably not gonna make this in time. No, I didn't. If you run away, like, you would still have 2 stacks starting your race, so you would do more consistent damage. And you would clear them quicker, so you would take less damage. Always take them into account. You can just walk away and then just Q once more, because it has quite a big range, so you have a good chance of killing it. Right. Since I'm gonna be clearing more jungle, I'm taking the 2nd point in my queue here. I'm not gonna gank, well, obviously because this is a custom game and there's nothing to gank, but if you're gonna keep farming, then you can just take the 2nd point into your queue. It helps you speed up your farming. Right, I'm gonna do my blue now because I'm getting very much out of mana. Especially on this side of the jungle, if you're starting your double golems and you don't get your blue early, you really need to get, like, your blue buff so you can get more mana, clear faster, everything like that. Right, I'm not gonna do my Gromp because that would kill me, or at least would come very close to killing me, and wolves will give me more spell vamp because it's more targets for your W. Right after these wolves, I'll be doing the river crab, I'm thinking. Yes, because I don't have enough like health to do my Gromp. and I have enough health to kill this river crab and gain some health from it. And potentially after the river crab you could gank top lane because you'll have like half HP-ish. So you'll be level 4 of course. So you could just use your ghost and your E to sprint into top lane and just hurt the enemy laner like for a good amount of health. Maybe even get the kill. Right, now on your first back you want to go for Trailblazers with some boots and maybe a health potion if you have the money. If you cleared the crab you'll have the money for sure. Now to the other side of the jungle. On this side Hecarim's clear speed is faster and easier because you're starting with your blue buff. On the other side of the map I try to start at my blue buff as well because like the mana and the cooldown reduction and everything just speeds it up and makes it so much easier. Obviously you don't always have a choice on starting with your blue buff. Sometimes you just have to start your red buff. Alright, on this side of the map, I'm just gonna do a regular clear. Just clear everything from Gromp to double golems. Let me talk a little bit about ganking strategies on Hecarim. You could gank on level 3, especially when especially after you take your red buff. Just start double golems, then red, then raves, and then gank like mid lane or something if it's pushing, or bot lane obviously. Like, bot lane is a very good choice. And if you're on the other side of the map, you could start at double golems and then just do red raves and then just run top lane with your ghost and your E. Just always make sure you have your E when you're about to gank, because that's a really, really important skill. I don't really care for my ghost on Hecarim early game. It's always better to just like waste it / use it. It's not really wasting it, because if you use it on the correct lane, you'll probably force their summoners or even get the kill, which is just worth it. Like, especially if you have your farming masteries, because then you'll have a much lower cooldown on your ghost, so you'll have it back quickly. Right, now finishing this off, I smited this whilst I was having my W on, so I gain more health, because your W will increase the spell ramp from your smite as well, so that's a good thing. I just waited a little bit there to get my Q back. Just try to always have your Q up before you start the camp, because it's always wasted seconds if you're not queuing, basically. Anyway, this was my guide, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share it with your friends. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!